In the dense, humid jungles of Vietnam, where every leaf could hide an enemy and every sound could signal danger, the United States waged not just a war of guns and bombs, but a war of whispers. It was a conflict where knowing what the enemy was planning could mean the difference between survival and disaster. And deep in the tangled landscape, a secret operation was underway, an operation so clandestine that its existence would remain classified for decades. This was Operation Fishhook. By the mid-1960s, U.S. forces faced a formidable opponent in the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese army. Conventional intelligence was limited. Patrolling the Ho Chi Minh Trail, intercepting communications, or relying on informants could provide fragments of information. But the dense jungle, underground tunnels, and sophisticated enemy networks made it nearly impossible to gain a complete picture. The United States needed a new approach, something technological, something hidden, and something audacious. The solution was electronic surveillance on an unprecedented scale. Operation Fishhook was conceived as a series of secret listening posts along the borders of South Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. These sites were designed to intercept North Vietnamese radio communications, track troop movements, and provide real-time intelligence to U.S. commanders and military planners. But setting up such an operation was easier said than done. The terrain was unforgiving. The enemy was vigilant. Detection could lead to the destruction of an entire post and the loss of highly trained operatives. Construction of the listening posts began under the cover of darkness, in areas carefully selected for both signal reception and concealment. Teams of U.S. Army engineers, intelligence officers, and signal operators worked in near-total secrecy. Camouflage structures were built to house sophisticated electronic equipment capable of intercepting radio signals over vast distances. Antennas were disguised as trees or hidden in natural rock formations. Some sites were placed in remote highlands, while others were built near riverbanks or along jungle ridges, locations chosen to maximize coverage of North Vietnamese communications while minimizing the risk of discovery. The operation required a combination of technical brilliance and audacity. Electronic specialists adapted radar equipment, direction-finding arrays, and signal intercept tools to function in a tropical environment. High humidity, torrential rains, and extreme heat tested every piece of equipment. Generators hummed day and night to power receivers and recording devices, while operators transcribed intercepted messages, often in real time. Mistakes could be deadly. If the Viet Cong detected even a hint of electronic activity, they would attack. Several posts were raided, and some operatives barely escaped with their lives, retreating under the cover of smoke and jungle fog. Coordination was equally critical. Operation Fishhook wasn't a single listening post, it was a network. Signals intercepted in one location were transmitted via secure channels to central intelligence hubs, where cryptographers and analysts decoded, translated, and interpreted the messages. The work was painstaking. Viet Cong and North Vietnamese messages were often encoded using ciphers or code words. Operators had to distinguish between routine communications, decoy transmissions, and actual military directives. Every successful interception was a race against time. Delayed analysis could render intelligence useless, sometimes costing lives. The operation also required ingenuity in logistics and personnel. Supplying remote jungle sites meant airlifting food, fuel, and equipment under strict secrecy. Rotation of operatives had to be done carefully to prevent exposure. Radio operators lived in isolation for weeks, sometimes months, constantly listening, decoding, and reporting. Their work was monotonous yet critical, performed under the constant threat of enemy attack and the crushing weight of responsibility. Some of the most dramatic moments of Operation Fishhook came when intercepted intelligence directly impacted battlefield decisions. Analysts would detect unusual troop movements, revealing imminent ambush or planned infiltration routes. Commanders could then redirect patrols, prepare artillery, or stage counter-operations. In several instances, Fishhook intercepts revealed supply routes along the Ho Chi Minh Trail, allowing U.S. and allied forces to strike convoys before reinforcements reached the front lines. Each success validated the incredible risk taken by operatives in the field. But the operation was not without setbacks. Signals were sometimes misinterpreted. Equipment failed in the oppressive jungle climate. Occasionally, intercepted messages led to dead ends, or misinformation planted by the North Vietnamese caused wasted efforts. Entire posts had to be dismantled and rebuilt after being compromised. Despite these challenges, Fishhook continued to expand, incorporating newer technologies, better encryption analysis, and more sophisticated equipment. The human element of Operation Fishhook was as important as the technical one. Operatives had to maintain absolute secrecy, not just from the enemy, but sometimes even from local populations and allied troops. Their success depended on discipline, focus, and the ability to operate under extreme pressure. Field diaries reveal long nights spent in darkness, transcribing messages by candlelight, listening for every nuance in static-filled transmissions, aware that a single misstep could compromise the mission and endanger lives. By the late 1960s, Operation Fishhook had become a critical asset in the U.S. intelligence apparatus in Southeast Asia. It provided unprecedented insight into North Vietnamese tactics, troop deployments, and communications. Commanders could anticipate attacks, adjust strategies, and make informed decisions that saved lives and resources. The operation's success was measured not in headlines, but in its quiet impact on the battlefield, shaping the course of the war through information rather than firepower. The legacy of Fishhook extended beyond the Vietnam War. It demonstrated the power of signals intelligence, electronic surveillance, and networked listening posts in modern warfare. Lessons learned in the jungles of Vietnam informed subsequent U.S. intelligence operations in other theaters, from electronic intercepts in the Middle East to Cold War monitoring of the Soviet Union. Fishhook showed that intelligence could be a force multiplier, and that understanding the enemy's plans before they acted could be more decisive than sheer military strength. The operation remained classified for decades. Many of the operatives involved received little recognition during their lifetimes, but their contributions were vital. Only after declassification did historians, journalists, and military analysts realize the full scope and audacity of the mission. Operation Fishhook proved that sometimes the greatest victories are won not with guns, but with patience, skill, and the ability to listen where no one else thinks to hear. Ultimately, Operation Fishhook was a story of innovation under pressure, of human courage in remote and dangerous conditions, and of the quiet, relentless pursuit of information. It reshaped U.S. intelligence capabilities, saved countless lives in Vietnam, and established a model for electronic espionage that would be replicated across the globe. The operation remains a testament to the often overlooked heroes of intelligence work, those who listen, observe, and interpret, turning raw information into actionable insight. In the dense jungles of Southeast Asia, amid danger, disease, and uncertainty, these operatives proved that knowledge was a weapon and that victory often begins with a single intercepted message. Operation Fishhook reminds us that in war, information is power, and sometimes the most daring operations happen in silence, where no one sees, no one applauds, but the results echo across battlefields and history alike.